next question from all begins with Ms. Daniel. And this is long. How can the school board work collaboratively with the teachers to confront some of the challenges in the district, including how to design a budget that maximizes what is available to our children? If you are currently on the board, how have you worked with the teachers in the past, and would you make any changes?
Can you read it one more time? Just so I get all the sections that was
Sure.
long. Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
And for the audience, we of course have two incumbent board members, Mr. Holbrook and Ms. Excuse me, Colbert, and new candidates are Mr. Horton and Ms. Daniel. So the question is asked to everyone, and it has a piece here about if you are currently on. How can the school board work collaboratively with the teachers to confront some of the challenges in the district, including how to design a budget that maximizes what is available to our children? If you are currently on the board, how have you worked with the teachers in the past, and would you make any changes?
Well, as we just referenced in the earlier question, the contract for the teachers is coming up for negotiation. That is a time where the board, the administration, and the teachers can all work together to look at the big picture, to see if there's any places where they can make changes in order to increase possibly some of the time in the classroom. That's been one of the suggestions that has come up in the board meetings. And in doing that, possibly reduce some of the costs in the budget. It would need to be a situation where it's a very open communication between all of the parties. Everybody is going to have to be willing to make sacrifices, and it's going to be very specific to the contract itself and how they can work it out. So I think that's really something that would speak to the contract, and they have to negotiate with the teachers. And in making some type of changes within the contract, hopefully they could make some changes that would be helpful to the budget. It's hard to speak to it without having that specific information.
Thank you. Ms. Colbert.
Yeah, I obviously any negotiation requires a collaborative effort. And since I've been on the board, we've already successfully negotiated a teacher's contract. We've successfully negotiated two civil service contracts since I've been on the board. We've negotiated our administrative contract as well. So that always takes collaborative efforts. It's not one part of the bargaining unit, putting their foot down and making demands. It's a back and forth, it's a negotiation. Obviously, with decreasing state aid and decreasing revenue sources, we can't offer the financial numbers that we might have been able to offer in the past. And so the way to collaboratively negotiate a teacher's contract is to find ways outside of just mere dollars to allow teachers to have some other benefit that's not related to money, that can save the district money but still give them some language changes in the contract or something else in the contract that isn't tied to dollars, that they might be willing to bargain with. As we move forward, obviously the preservation of programs in our schools is going to be the most challenging part of the process. But it does require everybody to come together and be aware of the financial situation that we face, be aware of the tax cap that we are faced with. And another piece of it really is educating the community about what the cap means. This year, obviously, we're above 2% on our tax levy because it's not a 2% tax cap. And so part of what we have to do is educate the public about what that means. And then educate our teachers and our staff about what that means, because everybody comes to the table with a different idea about what what that imposed on school districts. But having gone through this year and this budget, I think we are ready to collaboratively work with the teachers and negotiate a successful contract. And we've done it before, and I'm confident we'll do it again.
Thank you. Mr. Holbrook.
Well, obviously, having been on the board for these last 9 years, have been involved with several renegotiations of the teacher contracts. I feel I should say something at the outset. I commented on the amount of dollars that the budget increases each year related to teachers. It sounds like a very significant number, and it is. But I think a couple things should be noted. One is that when Buffalo News does their, I guess it actually is Business First that does the annual comparison, our district comes out very well in terms of the quality of the education that we're providing relative to the cost to the community. So I think it's worth noting that we do get a lot from the academic community here. And so I have a high regard for the quality of the education that's being provided here. And overall, the cost efficiency. Where I'm concerned and where the issue, in my view, arises is really not local. It arises, as I alluded to a few minutes ago, with mandates coming out of Albany, the way the retirement system is set up, the way that the health system is set up, and the step progressions that are built in. It's really hard, to try and take those things away after they've already been so provided out there and people have come to expect it. That's really the challenge we face. We have to sit down and we have to work with our various unions, and we have worked effectively with the civil service unions recently to get some concessions, to get more of a contribution on their health care programs and whatnot. And obviously non-cash items too, like where there's an opportunity to give some personal days back in return for a reduction in salary, and other ways that might be out there to keep the burden on the budget reduced, but also make it more palatable for the other side, because ultimately it is going to take both sides working together to bring about some solutions. But it's not an insignificant challenge, and a lot of it, unfortunately, has been foisted on us by Albany. And even though that's where the problem arose, the reality is we have to work within the means we have available here now. And my hope and expectation is that we will be able to get the cooperation of the components out there that we need to be able to work with.
Mr. Holbrook hit the nail on the head with the fact that the pension system and the step system that the teachers are involved in handcuffs the local districts with, what I say again, the state mandates that are already put into the budget before the school board has any ability to maneuver. There's the one aspect of the teachers' contract that can be negotiated, and I think will be a main point of contention is their contribution to healthcare costs. The current contract is a little bit dated compared to what most current contracts that have been negotiated here locally and in the state as to the contribution that the teachers make. I think that is a first step. And in any negotiations, there's got to be concessions on both sides. The problem being, there's very little that the board is really going to be able to offer, except for non-dollar value items, which again is thinking out of the box. It's something that's going to have to be really come to a point at the board that have something to offer to make those dollar concessions that can prevent any further cuts of class time or teachers.
Thank you.